we're talking about the movie industry, I believe we've not done much as compared to the other industries like Hollywood and Bollywood. We've not done much, but the theater industry is flourishing every day. We've got good actors. We've got performances that need appreciation. Uh, yeah, that's about it.
In my opinion, I would say that Pakistan has a lot of talent. There are very talented actors in Pakistan, especially in the industry and even in the theater industry. But in Pakistan, unfortunately, people are not so much interested in doing the theater or even going to watch theater. Other than that, they only enjoy watching TV, daily soaps, or even movies. So I think that most underrated characters never uh, come into the main industry, which is the movies and the drama industry. So I think that is a problem, especially in Pakistan.
Why are people not so interested in theater there?
Well, it's not a lucrative industry, the theater industry. All you get are a few performances every year, but you don't get recognized as you should be by directors. By we don't honestly we don't have visionary directors. If you ask me, my honest opinion, we don't have any visionary directors in the Pakistani film industry or the theater industry for that fact. So young actors often don't get appreciated or recognized for their fine work. I believe we have a lot of we have immense talent in the theater industry and the acting industry, but very few get far in both of these respective industries.
Uh, I would say that Pakistan, especially in theater, we have good actors, we have good directors, but unfortunately, the actors who work in the theater are not paid so in a huge amount like actors are paid in for the dramas and the movies. I think that could be the one of the main problem. That's why people never think about going to the theater. I've only seen few plays in my life, and the main characters were also working in the drama industry and even the movies. So I think they only do it for their passion or just to do something, just to get some work. But people are not much more interested in theater because of the pay.
I know lots of films are not made in Pakistan. Maybe uh, three to five, or maybe six, seven at most per year. Uh, One reason would be there's a mammoth right next door in India, which is known as Bollywood. Uh, is there any other reason besides that why you guys think there is not much of an industry there, or it's so small and there aren't many productions happening there?
Yeah, Bollywood is big. It's global, and recently they've made very good movies and web series and all of that stuff. We don't do that. We've released hardly any good movie recently. We've released a few commercial movies. There's not much space for indie cinema in Pakistan. Uh, yeah, so Bollywood's doing great. They have their ups and downs. They have their commercial, over-the-top movies, action movies, and south regional movies. But there are also the indie film aspect in Bollywood. The web series, the low-budget movies, the short films on YouTube. You can find short films on YouTube, so they're great.
I think in Pakistan, Khizer, I think in Pakistan there are directors who have that content, and I think that India is making like even in one province or one state of India, they are making movies in so many languages, in multiple languages like Hindi, Marathi, and every other language which is mostly speaking in India. But people in Pakistan, especially the main industry, they are copying the content from Indian movies. So I think that we don't have much content right now, so we can just make a good film. And whatever we make, it's just that commercial movie, just as a family entertainer, just to entertain the family, and that with that comedy punchlines, just to make the masses happy. I don't think that in the next 5 years Pakistan would be able to create a, I would say that a masterpiece. We have the potential, we have the actors, we have the content, we have the team, but we are still not ready for it. I think we will take more 5 more years.
Yeah, there's this there's this cycle that you see that Bollywood movies, commercial Bollywood movies copying from Hollywood, taking stuff from Hollywood, and what we do is we copy from those Bollywood movies. So it's like a vicious cycle which recycles content and leaves no space for originality.
I think copy would not be a good word. I think we get inspired by them, by the Bollywood films.
Inspired.
I think we should, yeah, we get inspired by the Bollywood.
Well, that's heavy inspiration because what it's a cycle, man. It's a cycle. All we do is copy and copy.
You guys said there's a lot of potential, but it will still take more than 5 years to really make something good. Why is that? What's stopping you guys? What's stopping the Pakistani industry? There's so much talent. There are directors that have a vision. Some probably don't. I know there might be a cultural aspect to everything, but what is the main reason? What is the force that's stopping it?
Well, it's like you said, a lot of cultural aspects and cultural barriers, especially religious point of views, which often, they are barriers to creativity and new ideas. Ideas involving very basic of instincts, human instincts, such as showing sexual relations between two characters. We can't do that. If we can't do that openly. We can't show these kinds of these scenes, these intimate scenes, to explain a relationship between a man or a woman. So yeah, so religion and cultural aspects and the censor board, and apart from that, we need financial support as well, because all we're doing is pumping cash in these nonsensical commercial movies every year, which send the same message to the audiences and sort of perpetuate social structures like marriage. All you see in Hum TV, I don't want to name any particular dramas or any particular media conglomerate, but all we do is perpetuate these social institutions like marriage, violence against women, poverty.
In addition to that, Khizer just mentioned that the daily soaps are just focusing on few topics like poverty, marriages, and you just said that sexual relations between two people, which is not very open. We don't talk about it very openly. But I would say that Pakistan, apart from the culture and the religion, there are much more problems within the industry. I think there are people who have taken over the industry and they don't want to show any new thing to the people. They are just working on one formula which they have made, and they know that it will generate revenue. This film will generate revenue. So they are keeping on making the same type of movies, commercial movies, and the daily soaps, which would just generate the revenue. They don't really care about the content or what they are showing to their audience. They are not making any show which would spread information about things, even about mental health awareness. They're not making in such shows. So I think this is the main problem, and especially the actors and the directors who have that favoritism in that. Like, if you want to get a main role in a film, I'm not sure about it, but people say that there's a lobby system that you have to be his friend to get a role in this film, and then if you want this main role, you will have to keep a good relation with the director and be a friend of the producer. So there are problems like these, but maybe in few years these problems will we will get over these problems.
Yeah, so there's nepotism everywhere. It's in the Pakistani industry, it's in the theater industry. We see a lot of actors who come from these this media background, who have uncles, who have a father who's from the same industry, and they get this head start in life. They get projects that most young actors who are auditioning for these roles don't get.
I'm curious. You guys have auditioned. How frequently do you go for auditions over there?
Well, together we've been to only one audition.
I think two,
Two?
maybe
Have
two.
we? The one I remember, it was really annoying because we were there before time. We were there before the range of time that they gave us. We were there.
They told us that we have to be there at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And we were there at 8:55, and we just took that token, and we got like 45. They were sending actors in a batch of 10 people in a batch, and I think we got 45 and 50, between 45 and 50, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we waited till the evening that day. There were these kids that came in, and they were allowed to go in. They just showed a piece of paper to the guy who was sitting at the desk, and they went in. They came out without even getting a token, and we were there. We just sat and we were gawking at them. We were like, we're gonna eat. We felt like we were gonna eat them.
We were there for.
Yeah.
We left the studio at 6 p.m. So from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. we were like 9 hours.
So yeah, it's a struggle. If you don't have connections, if you don't have contacts in the industry, it's a big struggle to even get calls for audition. You can't find audition calls in Pakistan very easily.
And Khizer, I think we need to note this thing, that this audition was for extras, not for any main roles.
Yeah.
It was only for extras. Just to get a role for extras.
Yeah. That movie for which we would have auditioned, we left. I don't know why. Was it the overconfidence in us? We thought of ourselves as these big actors, this breakthrough actors, but we left. But yeah, we've seen the trailer, and it looks like a movie they've copied from Bollywood, and it's the same.
Inspired.
Inspired. The problem is we recycling content, like it's like mass production of recycled content. Parents don't encourage their children to pursue acting careers or direction or production in filmmaking. The only common, the popular choices in future for as careers is engineering, doctoring, and all of that stuff. So we don't promote filmmaking per se, but we do make films, but we don't promote filmmaking, especially young talent, as I said, as I mentioned before.
So, since you mentioned that, what was your struggle, if there was any, convincing the family?
Well, I've been lucky in that crux. My parents are very supportive, and they actually encourage me to go for auditions to pursue theater. Uh, so yeah, I've been lucky in that matter. I've been fortunate. I've been blessed. But I know many individuals, many peers who face an opposite situation, a completely opposite situation, who are actually beaten, who are discouraged from pursuing such a career. Because it's not lucrative, like we've all mentioned before, it's not lucrative. We don't see many blockbusters in Pakistan. We see these seasonal commercial movies like comedies or really antiquated dramas, romantic dramas. Like, I don't want to name any. I don't want to sound like I don't want to attack my own industry, but yeah, it is a sad reality. It is a sad reality.
Again, I believe the cultural aspect plays a big role, and plus also over there, since there isn't much of an industry. But that being said, in the past 2 years at film festivals, I've seen a lot of entries from Pakistan coming, specifically for short film, independent films. I can tell most of those films are home films. mostly made with cell phones, with iPhones, and maybe a couple of them with the DSLR, but nothing that was anything above $500 to $1,000. So I would say it was pretty much all zero budget. But I do see a lot of films coming in at festivals. After the festivals, I believe these films go on YouTube and they stay on YouTube. At the same time, I do see films, similar films that come from India, which do have a little bit, mm, a slightly better production value, and I see those films going to Amazon or Tubi or other platforms like that. What do you think is the main reason behind this? And also keep in mind that I know that Pakistani influencers are also getting very big, and on YouTube they're quite big. If you compare it to the neighboring country, it's a very similar situation. They're growing at the same pace at the same time. So there's competition there. But in this filmmaking side of things, in the independent filmmaking side of things, they're definitely quite behind. Not just to the neighbors, but in general. They're making good efforts, but I don't think they're really going anywhere beyond uploading the film on YouTube.
Yeah, it is true. It is true that we make really few, we send really few movies to the festivals. But there are a few indie filmmakers who are trying, who have these ideas they want to portray through their projects, but they simply can't because they don't, as I said, they don't have that exposure. Uh, they're not encouraged. We don't have great teachers of or filmmakers that can set an example. We do need an example, like a great filmmaker, a great actors to lead the other to lead the later generation. That's why, because we don't have an example. We don't have a Godfather. We don't have
Role model.
we don't have a role model for like for indie films at least. For indie films at least, we don't have a role model. We're just we're inspired by other films. We're inspired by films from Wes Anderson, from Martin Scorsese, and all of these great directors. But we don't have anything like in our country to lead the ones who are trying to portray their ideas. Plus, there's production value is really low. We don't have we don't spend much on filmmaking, so that's another problem.
And one more thing, that most of the indie movies which are made in Pakistan, all these movies and filmmakers are actually YouTubers who have their separate YouTube channels, and they have a good fan base of them, and they are making their own indie movies because only they can afford to make it. Otherwise, other people are also making, other individuals are also working on these short films, but due to lack of capital and equipment, they are just unable to, just come up with a good movie. Only these few YouTubers are getting involved in these indie movies, and they are trying to create. They are coming up with good content, and they are trying to make these movies, which could be sent for. We can send them for film festivals. So yes, only the YouTubers are doing this thing right now, especially in Pakistan.
I think also the whole term or independent filmmaking in Pakistan is looked down upon very much because they have this mindset. Also, not just over there, in many countries I know for that fact that they think you can only make film if you have money. But in reality, in countries like America, Canada, Europe, or European countries, or India as well, you don't need the money. You need a good story, which is the most important thing people forget. And especially now with lots of big directors like Steven Soderbergh, he shot Ocean's 11, and his last two films he shot on an iPhone. So these things people don't know, or they don't want to acknowledge these facts. They think if they have a big camera, a big setup, a crew of 100 people, only then you can make a film. But the problem here I see is the films that they're making, they're spending all the money on the equipment and the crew, but they're not working on the stories at all.
Actually, the thing is that people in Pakistan, especially the youngsters, only the youngsters are much into these indie movies and web series and YouTube. So they think that like to have that perfect thing which they can just show it to anyone, and they can say that wow, it's it's so perfect, everything is so perfect. All they want is just their movie to look perfect, like it's a Hollywood movie, or if it was shot on an IMAX camera. They have no knowledge about filmmaking or anything. I think that is the main problem, because people over here don't know much about filmmaking, that how a film is made. They just start making up movies, and then they think, no, we have to get a good camera, we just have to get a good mic, and we don't need to just focus. Our main focus should not be on the content. I think if we have a good camera, we are making a perfect we are producing a perfect quality of the movie, and if the sound is great and if the songs are over there, the movie will be good. They have this kind of mindset, especially the youngsters who really don't have any idea how the films are made. And and especially in Pakistan, they are not, they have no courses for people who really want to get in this field. Just like they could have courses like to make movies, the how to shoot a movie, or how to write a script. They don't have such things, especially in schools and colleges.
Yeah, there are very few film schools. So
I think we don't have any film school in Pakistan. Only the Napa.
Napa is not a film school per
It's
se.
not a film school. It's just a performing.
Yeah, it's a performing art institute. It has theater courses, music, filmmaking. I don't think it promotes filmmaking. But yeah, so there's very few film schools. So that's why we don't have that exposure. We don't talk about films from Europe or America. We don't see that much of those movies. What we see is what we see on the television or on YouTube, because anyone actually with a phone, with a mobile phone nowadays, with a smartphone, has access to YouTube. So what we see very easily, what we have an access to very easily, like YouTube or the television, that's what we are inspired from. So since global creators and YouTubers, filmmakers are bringing their content on these platforms, I think people are getting educated day by day about indie filmmaking, about indie films. So yeah, I believe we can progress in that matter, in that situation. Now we don't have, like I said, we don't have an example, we don't have a role model for indie filmmakers. All we're doing is trying to create something organic, like really uninspired, organic, one we can make in a script we can write in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, just inspired from whatever we see around us, not from what others have made. Because if we show an average Pakistani what kind of films they make in Europe, what kind of festivals they have, they'll be really inspired. They'll have more ideas. Their mind, their horizons will expand. They'll be able to think more about their ideas, to expand on those ideas, and to make films. So yeah, we don't have that exposure. That's the problem.
In Pakistan, there's information failure. That's why this thing is happening. And especially people are not much informed. They are not aware about things and how things work. I have a question over here. I have a question for you. That you made Charlene. When did Charlene came?
I have no idea.
I think 2018, right? Charlene came out in 2018.
No, Charlene released this year. The production started in 2000.
Yeah, in 2018.
Late 18.
2018. So you never copied anyone from
Inspired.
From where were you got your inspiration from? From which TV series, or where did you thought that, okay, I can take inspiration from this movie, I can take some references from that web series?
It was from an article, the podcast, the Charlene podcast. In there, I talked about it. The inspiration came from an article, from a newspaper article. Wow. Not from a movie. It's based on a true story, but I changed the story a little.
Yeah, we do see a lot of that stuff, like films and series, web series being inspired from newspaper clippings. Like there's this web series called Family Man. I don't know if you've heard of it. Family Man. It was basically inspired from newspaper clippings about spies in India and their work around the globe. I don't know how much of it is true, how much of it's false, but yeah, it was inspired in that way.
So it's an Indian show, right?
Yeah, so it was inspired in that way, I believe.
So it was inspired by true events.
See, newspaper clippings. I don't know. You can't trust.
But there is a lot of exaggeration.
Yeah, there is a lot of
movies,
exaggeration. Yeah.
especially in Bollywood. If we talk about Bollywood thing, they really exaggerate things.
No, but Charlene most people said it should be a little more exaggerated, but I didn't want to exaggerate it at all. I kept it more realistic.
How could have you exaggerated Charlene? I mean, what was there? What lacked there?
Well, it's not a commercial film. It's realistic, and plus, it's very quiet with very few dialogues. So, I was asked to add more dialogues, or the two characters' interaction should have been more face to face instead of never meeting. So things like that.
Would you say that's like your like what do you call your symbol, your mark on movies? Because I've seen that a lot in your other projects.
No dialogues or little dialogues? Yes.
Yeah, little dialogue.
When there are dialogues in films, like Akuma or Obsession, the films don't work. When there are no dialogues, they do well.
Why do you think that is?
No, it's just a joke. Mainly when we made the two films, like the series and the film. Obsession was the first film, so everything is forgiven for that because it also made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
I
Akuma,
heard that.
Akuma went wrong in many ways. It went wrong in many ways. Just there are too many problems.
We won't discuss that. Do you believe it's important for a filmmaker, for an indie filmmaker, to diversify his craft, like your work? If you've done Obsession, you've done Charlene, but then you did Beijing Diaries. Like before that, you did Beijing Diaries. It's a documentary, sort of a different. It's a journey. It's
Journey is a documentary, but Beijing
Yeah.
Diaries is a narrative film. It has
yeah.
documentary style footage.
Do you think it's important to diversify your craft?
It is, I think, yes. Unless you think you can do something well, and then you just stick to it. But it's important to diversify. I think also in two podcasts, I've mentioned this, that when I made the documentary, I learned the most because I didn't care about the rules in the documentary, and the documentary was made in zero budget, and it still did really well in every possible way. It's streamed across the world. It won award. It went to many film festivals, and while it's the fastest made film, in 3 months the whole film was done. Okay, so before we wrap, what are your thoughts on the future of cinema in Pakistan, and also if there will be any independent cinema in future?
I think there does exist an independent film industry like this community. They are making movies. There are a few movies that come out once a year. They are good. They are good movies. They are good attempts at something different from our country. So yeah, we do have an advantage in that. But filmmaking, commercial movies, the future. That depends on how we change, how we evolve, how our writing evolves, how filmmakers, actors evolve in the future. If they evolve, if they change, if they bring about a change in their writing, in their thought process, if we stop recycling content and try to challenge the can challenge the social institution. If we challenge our own limitations, our own limitations that come from our own upbringing, if we challenge them, if we move beyond them, we may be able to make something that leaves a mark. That is a representation of our potential, of our ability. I've dissed a lot of the elements of our film industry, but I do believe we have good actors. We have an independent film industry. I believe they can change, they will improve, and we do have good movies, at least from the indie side.
I would just like to add a few more things to it. I think there are same thing which you have just mentioned, that there are good actors. We have good actors. We have good writers. We have a good team, but I don't think that we are utilizing the energy and the tools we have. So I think that we need more planning. As I've said before, that I think Pakistan needs 5 more years to get back on track for the media. The cinema need some more time. So I think in the next 5 years there will be more actors, there will be new actors which will get more popular in Pakistan, especially amongst the youngsters, because people are getting much more popularity from social media websites the Facebook and YouTube. So there are many YouTubers which I think they have that potential that they can create a good show, or even a good web series, or even a good film. So I think we all I have to say is that we need to give our people some more time, and they also need to realize that they just can't sell that same thing for the next 10 years. They need to improve. They need to improve.
We've recently fallen short because, like I said, we're recycling content. We're thinking about perpetuating social norms, and because of that, it damages the creative space of filmmakers, because they're restricted to a couple of ideas and can't move beyond those ideas.
Okay. So yeah, I really look forward to your short film. Thank you again.
Definitely, it was great talking to you. It was great.